Hello everyone, and so I'm very grateful for receiving the email from one of the people that's trained to be a shaman, which I received yesterday. And it was an email explaining how she was feeling, and she used one word over and over again, and the word is ludicrous. So the title of this film is It's All Ludicrous. Cars go by in this location. Ludicrous. So what am I talking about? At a certain point in the awakening process, and this can happen by whatever means you are being awakened, there can come a moment of what you could call cognitive dissonance, or to better describe it, a situation where there's all these new insights coming, you are awakening, it's happening, and the rational mind goes, no, enough, not happening. And this is a completely natural and normal response, particularly for empaths, to just want to pull right away from that awakening process and to say no, not having it. So the word ludicrous, it's all ludicrous. And if we judge things from the perspective of the 3D reality we've been brought up in and born into, the idea of the multi-dimensional space-time continuum, the idea of all that is, all these incredible possibilities, it's just too much. And so it's a really natural response. In fact, what a lot of people do, best example I've come up with, suddenly I've been given Ken Kesey. Ken Kesey goes back to the 1960s, and he was one of the pioneers who took LSD, and he created a community. He bought a bus, and all the people got on the bus, and they were a mobile community, and they travelled around California, and they were taking mind-altering substances. They were having their awakening experiences. And there was this expression that came, which as the bus was stopped, people go off the bus, do different things, and then the person would have this moment of rebellion of, no, it's all ludicrous. And then Ken would turn to them and say, it's okay. You're either on the bus or you're off the bus. Now when he says on the bus, means you're continuing your awakening process. I mean, if you're off the bus, it means, no, I've had enough, I'm walking away from this. And people do. In fact, Ken himself ended up walking away many years later. Now the disadvantage to me about the pharmaceutical drugs like LSD is they catalyse an awakening process, and yet it's best described by an esoteric practitioner called Douglas Baker. He said it's like ripening an apple with a blow lamp using LSD. And I take his point. And yes, meditation is a royal road to the awakening process. It's also true. So let's go into hallucination, because when people take LSD, those people who haven't ever taken LSD will say, oh, you had hallucinations. So hallucinations is when this 3D reality strips apart and you get to see what's going on beneath. Very disturbing. Well, Ken had such a disturbing experience from having his LSD experiences, creating this bus, people on the bus, off the bus, this mobile community. He got to a point and it's like, no. And he sold his bus and he went to live in a flat, and he started drinking beer and watching television. And that's actually what happens to some people. I've seen this with people who go into the awakening process working with plants, and one of the things they can do is they can choose to become a born-again religious fundamentalist. And that's another way of saying, no, enough, I'm not doing it. So here's the thing, it's a totally normal and natural reaction to have a resistance and a complete repulsion to this incredible world you're beginning to explore. Very natural. And the thing that I counsel people in such times is simply to be aware that the rational mind wants to keep you in the prison. That's its job. Its job is to keep you imprisoned in the 3D reality. That's what it's constructed for. That's why we, when we are babies, we get born, and we're multidimensional space-time travelers, which is why babies sleep so much. It's why cats sleep so much. It's why dogs sleep so much. Suddenly we let all that go. Disturbing, very disturbing. So the process of the human being growing up is at that 3D reality becomes inculcated into us through our parents and caregivers, and they describe the world to us, and we believe what we're told, and we get that description of the world. So the awakening process is exactly the opposite of what a baby goes through. A baby goes through a process of acclimatizing and adjusting to 3D reality. They need to learn such basic things as it's hot, that'll burn you. They need to learn these things in order to survive. And then when you're really familiar with being in 3D, then you get this call, you get this attraction, you want to awaken. And whichever route you take, you then start to have these experiences. And the rational mind tends to judge it all as hallucinations, so here's the ultimate joke. Remember, with shamanism, it's always nothing is as it seems. So it seems like you take a pill, or you take a plant medicine, or whatever method you use, and then you get some strange experiences, and people label them hallucinations. It's the other way around. This is the hallucination. What you see now is a hallucination. This physical body looking out through the window of these two eyes, imagining I'm just cocooned within this tiny skull, that's a hallucination. We're all vaster, so much bigger than we realize. So if you go through a moment of doubt, or lots of them, or you go through a complete rejection of your awakening experience, what I advise you to do is to be very gentle with yourself and give yourself that opportunity, and to know and to be aware that the best way to shut yourself down when it all gets too much is to drink alcohol. Really effective. Or go and take up a fundamentalist religion. That will really help too. And then when you're ready, that will start to crumble, and you'll start to have that sense of dissatisfaction, which is what drew you to the awakening process in the first place. And then you'll be ready for your second go. And that break might be a matter of a few minutes, or a few hours, or a few years, or a few lifetimes. It's different for everyone, and we don't judge, because there's no point, because it's all a wonderful, miraculous, majestic journey. So I wish you all the best on your journeys. And that's the end of part 3, and I reckon we're done on this subject. Thank you.